If you find yourself constantly busy or your managers are constantly busy doing stuff all day long at work, and for some reason or another, you still can't figure out why the productivity of your team and your business is not where you want it to be, then this episode of the Libretti Leadership Lab is going to be great for you because we're going to get into what's called Red Flag Week or Time Audit, where you're going to identify where the wasted time is in your day and be able to plug those gaps with productive things to do to move the needle forward towards the success you're looking for to get more out of yourself and your managers. And don't forget, if you like this episode and you got value out of it, hit that like, hit that subscribe button so you can get more episodes, more leadership value from the Libretti Leadership Lab. And if you leave the comment leadership at the end of this video, you'll get a shout out in a future episode. Love you guys. Stay strong. All right, this is Libretti Leadership Lab number 18 with me, John Libretti, founder of SPEARHEAD Leadership. We are the leadership wingman for your business. We get into the trenches of your business, your day-to-day operations with you or your managers to find out where their biggest problems are in the leadership space, to find out what their goals are and what your goals are, and to help them get to those goals and become better leaders in their teams, in their businesses, in their daily lives by identifying the real-time issues they're facing and help them solve those problems. If you're interested in learning more about us, you can find us on our website, www.spearheadleadership.co. You can find us on LinkedIn at Spearhead Leadership. You can find us on Instagram at _Spearhead Leadership. We even have a TikTok we do at Spearhead Leadership. And of course, you can always come back to this YouTube page and find the Libretti Leadership Live on YouTube. So make sure you're liking this video, you're subscribing to get updates on future episodes, to get that leadership value into your lives. Feel free to reach out at any time. So, most of us have a problem with time management, or really what I like to say is time maximization. Now, we all have the same amount of time. You've heard that trope before a billion times. Everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. Yeah, we got it. But what does that really mean if you're not paying attention to what you're doing throughout that day? It's more of a rhetorical question, but something to just think about it for a second. What does that 24 hours mean if you're not paying attention, you're not actively thinking about what you're doing with your time? And that's where most people kind of fall short, and they don't really realize all the time they're actually wasting in their day doing busy work or things that actually don't move the needle forward in any way, shape, or form. And this is not just in the business world, in your jobs and careers. This is in your regular life too. We kind of go through this autopilot, if you will, of life and our day-to-day for a number of reasons. And a lot of them seem valid as well. And let me caveat this real quick. I am no stranger to this. Okay? We're all human beings here. I'm a human being too. We get into this autopilot. It's part, again, I talk about this a lot too. It's part of our survival instinct, our basic human survival instinct to get into routine, into comfort zones, to stay safe and secure. That's how we were kind of created. And our minds and our brains have not evolved to this state of our existence where we are living in constant comfort compared to where we started back in the day as cavemen and women. So this is all ingrained in us, and we want to get into these routines and these sort of safe comfort zones, comfortable spaces to operate in. And we get used to it, and the comfort of being used to something helps us stay safe even more. The problem with that is our brain, when we're in that survival mode, when we create these routines, this second nature, the muscle memory for a lot of this stuff, we're not thinking about how productive that is in our lives. We're not thinking about the positive aspect a lot of these things have besides basic survival and comfort. And if you translate that over into the business world, whether you're, a tech CEO or founder, or you're a tech manager per se, or just any manager, CEO, or anybody in the workforce, you don't realize that the comfort you've created is not equating to the productivity that you're looking for, the growth, whatever it might be, profit, whatever, take your pick on what your goals are in your business and your job. You don't really take the time to think about, why am I not getting the productivity I'm looking for? Why am I not seeing the growth? Why are these things constantly coming in delays? Why are there always problems or hurdles or this or that? And I'm always busy. I'm always doing work. I'm always, work. My day is constantly filled up with calls and meetings and emails and this and that. And the needle is not being moved the way I want to. Well, this is why. Okay? And understanding why that is will help us get to the path of improvement that we're actually looking for. Okay? And I always like to do that as well when we're talking about issues and we're talking about ways to solve different problems in the leadership space and to become better leaders for ourselves and for the people around us. We want to understand the why behind why we're having some of the problems we are. Okay? And it's as simple as that. We're in the survival mode, if you will, the comfort zone mode that we get into in our jobs, in our day-to-day working lives, that has created this routine that's not always productive. So what we're going to talk about today, and I keep looking down at my notebook here. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're just listening, you're not going to see. I'm going to try to describe it as best I can, but I have this notebook. I'm going to show you this Red Flag Week time audit a little bit more in depth in a sec here, but we're talking about, it's called Red Flag Week. The idea is to identify red flags in your day-to-day operations, your day-to-day existence. I also call it the time audit because this is not a tool for you as a leader to use as punishment or micromanaging of your people or for yourself. It's used initially as a tool to actually see what your day looks like on a regular basis and to identify the red flags in your day that are creating these productivity gaps, this wasted time that you don't even realize is being wasted. Okay? And it's very simple. It's actually not time consuming. Okay? People are going to think, especially if they're seeing my notebook here, you're going to think it's time consuming because I have pages filled up of information that I wrote down. But it's really simple and it's really not that time consuming. Okay? The goal here of this, again, identify these red flags, and then the next step that most people don't take is what we're going to talk about later on. That's going to be the game changer to maximizing your time each day to get your priority tasks done and to actually see the productivity you're looking for. From yourself, maybe if you're a founder or CEO, or from your managers, which is predominantly the people I work with is the managers in the tech space that are struggling due to inexperience, lack of training, a number of different reasons. So what you want to do is get a notepad. You could do it on your phone. That's fine too. But I always find, since I've been in the military doing this for years now, handwriting notes. I used to carry a pad just like similar to this. It was a little bit more tactical and cool looking because that's what we tried to do when I was in the Air Force, try to look as tactical and cool as possible. Handwriting notes does this thing inside your brain. It adds an extra level of connection between the thoughts you're having, the things you might be listening to or learning about, and ingraining it into the long-term memory of your brain, the muscle memory, if you will. So there is something to be said about how people receive information. That's a separate topic in and of itself that we'll discuss at a future date. A future episode. But I find the best way to actually take in information and remember it and regurgitate it and actually put it to use for myself to get it in my brain is to either listen to it or read it and then also write it down or do some sort of action involved to add that extra layer of connectivity into my mind. And by handwriting, that tactile motion, that action of handwriting into a physical notebook does that for me 100 times better than me typing into my phone. I don't know why. I'm not the neurological expert to kind of answer the why on that one. I just know it works for me. So I suggest people Oh, I always recommend people handwrite things down. But however best, you're going to actually remember things and learn and grow from it, do it that way. I know the phone is a lot easier because it's always on us. So anytime we're doing something around our offices or in our daily lives and you want to log something, you can pop it in your phone on the Notes app real quick and easy. You don't have to carry around an extra thing. I got that. So whatever works for you. But what you want to do is this, okay? This is a week-long thing that, again, I extend to a second week, and we're going to talk about that second piece, that extra layer that's really going to make things this more effective for you. But for 1 week, what you're going to do is simply log everything you do throughout the day. Now, you can break this down a little bit simpler, especially if you're trying to instill this into your managers, okay? So if you're a founder or CEO and you have a couple of managers under you that might be showing signs, they're not meeting expectations, they're not meeting the deadlines, and you're not seeing the productivity from their team that you're looking for, and you want to get to the bottom of it, and you want to see what they're doing the day to day, you can relegate this down to what are they doing from the business hours, 9 to 5, or whatever your business hours are that your managers are on duty, if you will. I do it all day, every day, mainly because of the nature of my business, and I work remotely and I don't have really set business hours per se. I'm always doing something throughout the day that could involve work-related, Spearhead leadership-related stuff, whether it's late-night client calls or I have some time later in the day that I can get some extra work done on some stuff. So I do it throughout the entire day, to include from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep. But make it work so that either yourself or your managers are able to effectively log this time, okay? And you're not going to do it at the end of each day. You're going to do it throughout the day as things happen, okay? So you can see here, if you're looking in YouTube, I recommend if you want to get the most value out of this, come to the YouTube page. If you're listening on Apple and Spotify, come over to YouTube and take a look at my notebook. I'm going to try to zoom in as much as I can so it's clear, so you can see how it's broken down here in the different sections, the different days. I break it down by hour, okay? That way, I don't have to sit there with a notepad on me every minute of every second. Oh, somebody said hi to me, so I got to write this down. I said hi back. Okay, then I blew my nose. Okay, then I did this. Then I scratched myself. Whatever. You don't have to do that. Break it down by hour. So again, if you're doing this for your managers or for yourself at work only, 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever your schedule is. And if you're one of those that's working 10, 12, 14-hour days, do it for those 10, 12, 14 hours, okay? And you're going to see later on, we're going to explain how to shrink that down, shrink those days down so that you don't have to work 14 hours to get the productivity you're looking for, okay? This is why, again, real quick caveat again, this is why I call it time maximization and not just time management, because we want to maximize the time we have available to us. We want to take the time, whether it's the 9 to 5 working hours, and we want to make sure we're getting the most out of it. We're not just wasting our day sitting behind a desk or in a cubicle or in an office space away from what we want to do with our lives, like be with our family, go see our kids' sports games or plays or whatever, or just be home for dinner on time, okay? We want to maximize the time we have at work in our careers to get the most out of it without having to waste extra time or take time away from other important things in your lives because your productivity wasn't there, okay? So with that, break it down by hour. You can even go as far as half hour depending on, again, your situation, but you just want to write down everything you did that hour. And when I say everything, I mean everything. And it's not going to take extra time. It takes maybe 15 seconds each hour to write down, hey, for this hour, I took a work call, then I made coffee, then I scrolled Instagram. If that's all you did in that hour, that's all you put down. Okay, you're going to do that every day for a full week. Again, I did this for a full 7-day week. You can do this for your 5-day work week. Okay, but the key here is for this first part is two keys really. One, make sure you or your managers are writing everything down, the good and the bad. Okay, it's a log. It's not an accomplishments tracker. It's just a log of things done or not done. Okay? The second key of this first portion of this time audit is that you're not using this as punishment to discipline your managers or punish them or anything like that, or micromanage them and tell them they're wrong and not to do this and this and that each time they fill something out. Okay? The point of this is to get an idea, finally get a good grasp of what the hell you're doing each and every day. Okay? And like I said, excuse me, I'm no different for anybody else. You can see how many pages I have. I did this 2 weeks, so it's a little bit longer, but you can see, it's a little blurry on the screen, but I have pages of stuff filled out, and a lot of it is wasted time. Now I do this every few months just to make sure I'm staying on track and I'm not falling back into poor routines of comfort. Like if I have open time during my workday, I'm not spending it on my phone scrolling social media or doing something that's not moving the needle for me during my work time. So I'll go back if I feel like I'm getting not a lot of things done that I want to. I'll go back and do another time audit. I'll do another red flag week. Check it out and see what's going on, see what I'm doing. Okay? So you have to make sure that you're writing everything down. I'm going to read some of the stuff that I wrote down so you can see that I'm not BSing you guys here. I wrote the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. All right? Here's I had on this one day from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., 13 to 1400. I had a 45-minute work call. I did one set of 50 push-ups, and then I scrolled on Instagram. So, 3 things, okay? This next hour, complete waste of time. I played with my dog outside for a little bit, and then I scrolled YouTube Shorts and Instagram. Not great. Okay, now this is a couple years ago, this particular list, this first one here, but you get the idea. Write it all down. Okay, again, this is not serving as a punishment for yourself or for your managers, your team, your people around you. It's so you get the understanding of where your time is being spent and why you may not see the production or the on-time delivery of things that you're looking for. Okay? You're going to find out, and this is going to be a kick in the ass for some of you, and that's okay. It should be, okay? Now, you're not going to beat yourself up over it, but it should serve as that little kick in the ass for you to understand, hey, I have 8 hours on the books of work, and I have about 3 hours of actual productivity for the day. And I spend 5 hours doing nothing of actual value for my job. You're going to see that. And that's okay because we're going to change that. But it's going to be a wake-up call for you guys. Especially after the first day, you're going to realize, holy crap, look at all this wasted time here. And it's going to demotivate you from continuing on. But the key here is to stay consistent and keep doing it for the whole week. Okay? I see I have 7 days here. I did it from a Friday to a Friday. And then the next day I started over with week number 2, so that we'll get into that in a sec here. But again, my work schedule is a little bit different, so I wasn't doing Monday through Friday. It's going to be up to you. Now, if you need help with this, if you need a better template, if you want to really make this as simple as possible for yourself or for your employees to do, your managers to do, then reach out to me. You have all the contact information in the beginning of this episode. It's also down in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. Underneath, you have the Instagram, the email, the website, all that. Reach out to me because I do have a template that I can send you that you can either do it on your computer, which I don't necessarily recommend, or you can print it out and write it out, however you want to do it. But it kind of sort of idiot-proofs things to make it easy, so you just fill it out and serve as, that reminder for you guys. But fill it out for the 5-7 days, and that's it. You're not going to try the first week. You're not necessarily going to try to minimize the wasted time so that your audit looks better. The first week, you're just tracking the stuff you did or didn't do. Okay? It's not going to be easy. It's not going to feel great at all. It's going to feel like you're going to feel bad about it, to be honest. You're going to feel like, what am I doing here? I'm not where I want to be. I'm not the leader I thought I was. Whatever it is, you're going to have those negative feelings. Okay? That's okay, because we're going to detach from those. We're not going to let those negative feelings dictate how we respond to this. All right? But this is going to be the wake-up call you're going to need to change and improve, to learn, grow, and improve, to be able to move the needle in the direction you want it to go. All right? Now, if you're watching on YouTube, don't mind my dog in the background. Like I said, I work remotely, so my office is his home. So now, here's the big piece that people don't do. This is gonna, what's the term I'm thinking of? This is gonna set you apart from the people who continue to waste their time, who continue to stay in that cycle of forever busy. When you talk to them, oh, I'm too busy. I don't know if I can make this date. I don't know if I can take that call. I'm just so busy all the time. I just don't have time to do anything ever. This is going to make or break and set you apart from those people to the person and the leader who's going to have the time and who's also going to see the success that you're looking for without burning yourself out, without going home and not wanting to spend time with your family and your kids and whatever because you're so tired from the day, or you miss family dinner and you have to just heat the leftovers up and eat by yourself because everyone else is already sleeping. Okay? You're not going to have to do that anymore. All that stuff that sucks about work, especially if you're a higher leadership level, like a CEO level, C-suite, or just a manager of a team, in the trenches, a frontline supervisor, a middle manager who has to herd the cats all day long and is busy. You go home, you're dead tired, you're burned out, you don't want to do anything anymore. You don't want to go exercise, you don't want to go enjoy a movie with your family, you don't want to read, you don't want to take up any of your other hobbies, you just don't have the time or energy to do it. This is going to change that. Okay? This second step is where we're going to take the leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. The 95% of other people who don't take the next step, this is what we're going to do, okay? So red flag week is first week, identifying the red flags. The second week of the time audit is where we make the changes, where we make the cuts, okay? Now you have a whole week of logs of what you did that was productive and unproductive for that week. And let's be honest, things are going to change week to week, day to day. The routine is not always going to be exactly the same. And we all understand that, and that's okay. But generally speaking, this week that you logged, the first red flag week that you recorded, is going to be a really good sample size of how your work life is. We all know that, okay? With the exception of some of the outliers, big meeting that you might have, a conference that you might go on, or send people to, or a training, or a vacation. All those are outliers that definitely occur, absolutely. But this is going to be a good gauge of generally what happens throughout your weeks, your normal day-to-day operations. Okay? The second week we're going to do is we're going to start cutting the shit out, for lack of a better term. Okay? So if you look at your first Friday, like I said, I started on a Friday, you're going to look at all the, I started my log the first Friday at 7:30. I'm going to read this again because I want to show you how honest and how brutally honest you have to be with yourself on this. Okay? We have to take our pride and our egos, we have to put them on the bench for a little bit here. And we have to take that introspective look inside and be honest with ourselves about this stuff. So my Friday, I started at 7:30 when I woke up. Okay? When I say woke up, I mean I just opened my eyes and I was awake at 7:30 in the morning. I snoozed my alarm till 8:20 and didn't get out of bed until 8:20. Okay? Then I took my dog out and I fed my dog and I brushed my teeth and I did a set of pull-ups from 8:20 to 8:45, I think it was, 8:30. Okay, that was my first Friday. So the next Friday, on the next week, again, I'm looking at my notes here. The next Friday, I just woke up at 8. Okay, I didn't snooze. My alarm was set for 8 that morning. I woke up, I got out of bed at 8, fed my dog, and I immediately did a set of pull-ups and I had a work call. It started at 8:30, went till 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so I cut out 30 minutes of snooze, 50 minutes of snooze, excuse me. That's just one cut. Okay, I'll go through another one here real quick. Let's see what else I got. Friday from 11 to 12 a.m. I did a set of pull-ups. I took my dog out and I scrolled Instagram and social media. That's all I did for that whole hour. The next Friday from 11 to 12, I took a phone call with an old mentor and friend, and I did 25 minutes of product dev for one of the guides that I give to a client, like a template guide for them for an issue they were having. Like I said, it wasn't much, but it was a little cut. Okay? So that second week, you're going to go back to the book. You're going to go back to the first week's audit, the red flag week. Okay? And if you want to, this is something that's a little extra. It takes a little bit more time, but you can absolutely do this if you want to. If you're really, motivated to get this going for you. For that first week, it's probably better if you do it at the end of each day. Go through your days. I'm showing you on YouTube. You can go through the stuff you did each hour throughout the day and just make an annotation of the time wasted. And you can underline it. If you have a highlighter, you can highlight it. This was Instagram time. This was doing nothing time. This was reading random articles. Whatever it is, the stuff that was wasted, you can annotate it in some way, shape, or form. Underline, highlight, whatever. And then if you want to get real crazy with it, you can annotate the productive stuff that you did in your work day. Did product dev, emailed a prospect, scheduled a call with a lead, whatever it is, highlight that a different color if you have it. If you want to get a little bit more in depth for that first week, go right ahead and do that. Okay? The second week, you're going to go back to that as you're going through your day. And when you have that inclination now to pick up your phone and scroll Instagram when you got nothing going on, slap yourself upside the head, proverbially, of course, figuratively, and go back to some of the things that you know to be productive in your day and work on that instead. Now, another extra you can do, again, this is not something that's sort of mandatory, but this is a little extra if you have the capacity to take it on. Okay? I say this because we'll call this a bonus action you can take during Red Flag Week, the time audit, if you want. Okay? I call it a bonus because what we don't want to do in anytime we're trying to improve or create better habits for ourselves as leaders, we don't want to, overheat our channel capacity. What is the term I'm thinking of? Not override. I don't know. I'll figure out the term later on. But we don't want to dump too much extra work on us, okay? Our brains have the capacity, the channel capacity, to take on about 3 things and be able to take on those 3 things pretty well, okay? I talk about this with my clients all the time. I've been working on this with mentors of mine throughout my time in the military. They would always help me with prioritizing tasks and things like that, and said, and taught me that if you're loading up your plate with more than 3 things at a time in a given day, a work day, you're setting yourself up for failure on all those things, because our brains don't have the capacity to excel at more than about 3 things at a time. It's like juggling. Okay? You can juggle 3 balls, you can figure it out because your brain is able to focus on each individual ball instantly in a quick amount of, quick enough time to be able to juggle them. But you start adding in a 4th ball and a 5th ball, and you're eventually gonna drop all of them. Okay? And that's what we don't want to do. Now, some people are able to juggle more balls. If we're using that analogy still, their channel capacity is a little higher. That's awesome. If it's not for you, that's okay too. We're going to play to your talents. Okay? We're going to play to your talents, and then we're going to start to improve your talents so that your level of ability goes up. But the way to do that is to not override yourself too early. So this bonus thing that you can do is you can prioritize the important ongoing things that you need to get done in your job to move the needle forward. Okay, this is a separate episode we'll do entirely to kind of get into the weeds of how to prioritize and deprioritize. But if you're interested in learning the ins and outs of how to effectively prioritize your most important tasks that need to get done, and deprioritize the tasks that don't need to get done, that actually aren't moving the needle the way you want to, again, reach out. That's one of the biggest things I help people do. I help the leaders do that I work with, the managers that I work with, is to be able to do that and then be able to delegate those other responsibilities accordingly so that everything gets done without you having to do all the juggling of all those things. Okay? But for the purposes of this, if you have a prioritized list of tasks that you need to get done, and for a single weekday, whatever it is, 2nd week of red flag week, when you have that downtime, instead of picking up the phone and wasting it on water cooler conversations or scrolling through emails that are not important, or reading spam emails that aren't actually moving the needle, but in your head you're doing the mental gymnastics telling yourself like, oh, this could be something of value, so I better check it out, when really you don't need to at all. Go to your priorities list and say, oh, well, I have, I got some downtime right now. What can I work on for 10, 15, 20 minutes at a time just to move the needle a little bit forward? Something that you wouldn't have normally done beforehand, okay? Even though it's just 10 minutes that day, that's 10 more minutes a day that you weren't doing that before, okay? Now, if you do the math and extrapolate that throughout 6 months to a year, think of how much more productive you are because you had the peace of mind, because you identified where your gaps were in your time maximization, your time audit, to fill those gaps with productive stuff. And that's where the 2nd week comes into play. That's where most people end up reverting back to their wasted time, daily habits like usual. And you don't want to be most people. That's why you're here right now. That's why you're listening to this show, or you're watching on YouTube, and you're trying to get value out of it, because you don't want to be like most people anymore. And that's great. And not that there's anything wrong with most people. Most people are also good. But we want to be great. We want to be highly successful leaders. So we're going to take that extra step and do week number 2 of this time audit, utilizing the information gathered from Red Flag Week. Now, if you're a founder or CEO, I always go founder CEO because there's a lot of tech companies who The founders are also the CEOs, but sometimes they've grown enough that they can hire a separate CEO or promote a separate CEO. So I always bring up two. But if you're having your managers do this, after the first week, this is going to be key for them too. You can have them do the second week on their own, but as their leader, if you're their supervisor, as their leader, take the time with them. You could take 15 minutes with them to sit down and look at their week, their first week with them, and help them get through their second week, and give them the list of, hey, these are the things that I need from your team on a regular basis. These are the things that I've noticed recently that have been delayed more so than not. These deadlines that keep getting pushed, or these sales calls that maybe, we're not getting as many sales calls done or completed, or we're not converting as many as we like. Whatever the gaps you're noticing from that team, have that conversation with that manager and say, okay, when you have your downtime, when you see that you're spinning your wheels and you want to go check your Instagram, you want to go take a smoke break, you want to go hang out in the cafeteria or the break room and shoot the shit with your pals, look at this list of things that we're trying to improve from your team and focus on those for a little bit. If maybe your sales team is struggling with converting leads or scheduling calls with leads, take some time to brainstorm with them, a couple minutes brainstorming with them of, hey, what are we doing? What's not going well? What can we, what are some ideas we have to improve upon this? Whatever it is, fill those gaps that you identified in week one. Fill those in starting in week two with those productive tasks, okay? And you as the supervisor, the founder, the CEO, have that conversation with your managers, because that does two things for them. One, it gives them the lanes in the road of what you expect from their team. Because oftentimes, too, those conversations aren't happening, and your managers are often guessing what they think you're looking for based on their interpretation of your strategic goals that you've laid out for the teams. And you don't want guessing to be the course of action for your managers to go lead their teams. That's just not how you want to lead. Okay? Sometimes they'll get it right, most times they'll get it wrong. Okay? So having that conversation will, one, give them clear, effective lanes in the road to focus on. And two, probably more importantly, in the long term, it's building that relationship with your manager. It's letting them know, hey, I have a CEO, I have a boss who's in my corner and is here to support me, instead of, punish me for the time wasted that I logged in my audit, in my red flag week. They're not here to scold me or micromanage me or anything like that. You're building that relationship with them. You're giving them the feedback, and you're letting them know that you're there to support them leading their team to success. Okay? And that's going to pay the biggest dividends overall for your team in the long run, which a lot of people don't realize. Okay? I've talked about this a lot in the past. Too often, people have focused on the short-term gains to accomplish their growth and scaling and profit goals. Okay. Now I know the CEOs, the big wigs, the C-suite executives in businesses and organizations, they have their profit margins they want to hit. They have their metrics they're looking to hit quarterly and annually and everything like that. But that often gets lost in the sauce when you're communicating down to your managers, and your managers are communicating down into the trenches with their teams of how that actually applies to them. Like, what's the old question, what's in it for me, for those team members? And if there's no actual clarity in why those metrics are important to the company, and to each individual team member, they're not going to be motivated or have any sort of wherewithal on how to move out to accomplish those goals most effectively for you. So by building that relationship with your managers, giving them that clarity, building that trust and respect, and showing them that you're supporting them and their team is going to help bridge those connections and, again, pay those dividends long term. Instead of caring about the short-term gains and the short-term gains and the short-term gains and then wondering why they're diminishing over time, it's because you're not thinking long game anymore. Okay? Think long game. Have the conversation with your managers so that they can have the conversation with their team, build the relationship, pays off in the long run. Okay? I think I'm going through my notes one more time, my audits here. I think that basically covers the ins and outs for this episode for the red flag week and the time audit. Now, again, this is what I do with the managers and the people I work with. Okay? A lot of times, an unfortunate reason why CEOs don't provide this level of mentorship and coaching and teaching and training to their managers is simply because they don't have the time to do it. Okay? Now, again, this time audit is gonna reveal all the wasted time in our lives. But you're also supposed to be focusing on the strategic growth of your business. Okay? You're not supposed to necessarily have all this extra time to train your managers and turn them into the skilled leaders that you want them to be. I get that. Okay? The expectation from you as the head honcho, as the founder, where the buck stops with you, your responsibility is to ensure that your managers get that level of coaching and training. It doesn't mean it has to be on you to do it, but it's on you to make sure that they get it. And that's where we come in at Spearhead Leadership. Okay? This is what I do every day. We do time audits. We work on different strategies for managers to work with individual nuanced relationships they have with their team members. I'm in the trenches with your managers doing this stuff day to day so that you can focus on what you're supposed to be focusing on, is the growth and strategy and mission of your business and your company, and then also your own time maximization as well. And now that way you're getting both things done. Okay? You're doing your job as a CEO by both focusing on the growth and strategic building of your business and making sure your team succeed, and ensuring that your managers are getting what they need to be the skilled leaders to lead their teams. And it's not costing you any extra time. Okay? And then after you realize how much time you could be saving and maximizing after you do your own red flag week, now you can go home and eat dinner with your family. And you can watch the ball game with your kids, or watch Trolls 55 times with your daughter or your young son, and enjoy what is most important to you in life outside of work. And know that you're still going to get the productivity and the growth that you're seeking out in your business because you set your team up for success. By getting what I would say, we're probably the only company, I'm the only leadership coach that's in the trenches with your managers on the day-to-day. That's what we pride ourselves on, is coaching and training on the problems they're having in real time. You're not going to get that anywhere else. Okay? So if you want your managers to maximize their time better so that they can lead their teams better without you having to spend more of your already busy schedule doing it yourself, right here, Spearhead Leadership. Find us on our website, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. We got this. Okay? Reach out anytime. We'll have a conversation. We'll turn your managers into skilled leaders and your business into a well-oiled machine while you sleep happily at night without the stress and the hassle of having to work 12, 14-hour days extra on weekends, overnight, whatever it is. You don't have to do it anymore. So that's all I got to say about that. Before we go, though, I always like to end each episode with the big three. These are the three pillars to staying strong, being a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being, and a better leader overall in life. These are part of my personal core values. They're part of Spearhead Leadership's and the Libretti Leadership Lab's core values as well. Number one, exercise every day. Do one thing every day to improve your fitness, health, and wellness physically, mentally, or emotionally. Okay, it doesn't have to be a gym workout every day. It doesn't have to be a physical exercise every day. Although physical exercise does improve you physically, mentally, and emotionally, it doesn't have to just be a physical workout every day. Okay, you can break the mental sweat. You can go take on a new hobby, learn a new language. You can learn woodworking. You can do crossword puzzles, little brain teaser puzzles, whatever it is to break that mental sweat. You're going to have the time to do it now. After you do this time audit and this red flag week, you're going to have the time to do it, and you should absolutely focus on it. Okay? Number two is the hardest one to do because it involves our negative emotions, but it's to not be a negative, crappy person, to be a kind person. Okay? There's opportunities around us all the time to be negative. Okay? It's out of our control. You pop your phone open to Instagram and you get negative posts and people trolling and people posting negative, crappy things on there, taking jabs at other people. You see it on the news constantly. That's how the news makes its money these days, on negative press. You see it all over the place. And those negative emotions that you feel inside make you want to react negatively to those situations. They make you want to write back, shit post back to somebody, troll them in the comments, message them, why are you posting this stuff? This is, you're a bad person for doing that. Even if you think the person deserves it and you wanted to get that jab in there, all I'm asking you to do is when that opportunity arises to be negative and shitty and angry towards somebody, recognize those negative emotions inside you, take the step back, take a deep breath, detach yourself from those negative emotions, and just remove yourself from the situation altogether. You don't have to take any action. You just have to remove yourself from the situation. Put the phone down. Done. Okay? Close the laptop. Walk away. That's all you got to do. You don't have to purposely say something positive to try to take action against it. Just remove yourself from the situation. Okay? And by doing that simple action of just getting out of there, not responding at all, you're minimizing the negativity and the crap going on in your world and the world around you. Okay? And the less negative around you, the more productive you're going to be. Okay? And you're going to now have the capacity, instead of spending your time crafting up the perfect Instagram troll comment to get back at that person for their shit post, now you have the time to go focus on more positive, productive things, like exercising. Okay? But I understand how tough it is, because when you're in that emotional state, the first thing you want to do is respond. You want to get back at that person for doing that negative thing towards you or whatever it is. Don't do it. Okay? Work on that. Recognize when you're in those situations and move on. The third thing, the most important one, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. Now, it's not very effective to just sit there and think, oh yeah, I'm grateful for everything in my life. Got it, moved on. That's not going to move the needle for you. Okay? Take the time, it's a few seconds each day, to actively think about at least one good thing in your day or something good that happened to you in the last 24 hours. And then think about what your life would be like without that thing. It could be anything, just one thing. Roof over your head, running water, a working HVAC system, working AC in the summer, working heat in the winter. Food on your plate, whatever it is. Now think about what your life would be like without that thing, without a roof over your head in the wintertime, without electricity, without running water, without, with a functioning toilet. Okay? That will immediately put you in a state of gratitude right then and there. Okay? And the more you do that throughout the day, the more you're going to be in that state of gratitude, the less you're going to be taking things for granted, and the easier it's going to be to follow number 2 of the big 3 and get out of the negative spaces, not be that shitty negative person and be a kind person. And then in turn, that's going to allow you more time to go focus on positive, productive things like exercising every day. And if you do these 3 things just a little bit each and every day, I harp on this constantly, repetition, 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 a little bit each and every day, you work on it. And I promise you, you're going to look 6 months down the road, a year down the road, I promise you, you're going to be a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being, and a better leader overall in life. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Again, if you got any value out of this podcast at all, hit the like, hit the subscribe on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify. Get your notifications on for when the next episode is going to drop, because that's what we're going to do here. We're just dropping leadership value constantly here. So put that out there. Leave a comment if you have any questions on YouTube. You can even leave comments on Spotify now if you want. If you have any topics you want covered, if you have any questions about like my time in the military and how that translates over now, we're going to be talking about that a lot in future episodes. There's a lot of overlap between what I learned in the military and how that applies to everybody in the civilian world and non-military world. Leave that in the comments. If you have any feedback whatsoever, put it in the comments. If you leave the word leadership in the comments at the bottom of this YouTube video, you're going to get a personal shout out at a future episode. We'll probably even do some sort of like giveaway or, free coaching giveaway or something like that in the future as well. So put all that stuff in the comments. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Libretti out.